Hi guys, this is video 3 of the as yet untitled roguelike game that I'm working on. Big shout out to Mustafa and Micah Stevens, who they both pointed out a couple of issues with the collision detection and treasure chest. But I just wanted to have a big thank you to Micah, who actually went out, was bored, and decided to implement a 3D version of the game using the majority of the code from this video. So although this video is in 2D and it will be in 2D, and I'll try and fix it up so it can be 2D or 3D later on in it. A huge thank you to him. I've linked his video in the show notes below, so please take a look at it. It's good job, sir. I really appreciate it, and I love the fact that we can collaborate over YouTube. Like this. So that's awesome. And the source code for this video is in the show notes below as well. I've also, when I upload a video, I make a branch, so it's in release/video, whatever it is. So the main branch has got the latest bleeding edge code to it, whereas the branches have got the ones for each video. So if you're watching this and going, like, why I can't get back to video 1, you can go and get the code from video 1 and you can see how far it's progressed. So in this one, I fixed the problems pointed out by Mustafa and Micah. So we've got the treasure chest multi-hit, the collision detection. When we also take a look at fixing up the hit system, which I actually have written down here. I don't know what that means. I know what that means now. So I wanted to take, rather than having to have everything inside Locomotion, I take that out of there. So this is a kind of tidy up video, sort of, but I also get to doing the basic NPC attacks as well. So all of this is after the fade. Okay, so this is what we're going to tackle this video. So this is video 3. We've actually gone through, I'm trying to keep these to an hour. So we'll see how much time we have for these. Sometimes I get like stuck in a bit, so the length varies. But I do want to point out that, as I mentioned in the intro, there's been a few responses to this video, and by the way, keep them coming, because I'm doing this live and I'm not really thinking about things. I'm thinking about the system itself rather than sort of the bugs that I might be putting into it. So I really, really, truly appreciate, and again, I mentioned this in the intro, that your contributions to this, because it's amazing. Micah, God, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, because I actually watched your video. He produced a video where he took the code that we've done for the 2D and he made it 3D. And so I've linked his video below, but it's a comment to the previous video. But yeah, spot on. Love this. This is what I like about YouTube, is the fact it's collaboration. It's, taking someone else's stuff and then building on it. Amazing, really good. And what I might do is, I haven't got it in here, but I might do the abstract input, abstract movement. So I don't know if we're going to get to that, but we'll see if we've got time at the end of the video. So there was issues with a couple of collision detection things, and the treasure chest, so we'll fix that in this video. Then I want to tackle sort of ranged weapons, so melee and ranged weapons, and also the static NPC for attacks, because obviously we need to be able to attack things. Which means we need some kind of health system. So some kind of health system. Just hit points, something like that. Something basic anyway. And again, the idea is that you'll be able to like rip this out and replace it with whatever you want, because we're just using that message architecture. So the first thing is I'm going to fast forward this bit, but I want to create a sort of tile floor so that we know where we're standing. So I'm going to do that right now, and after this, we'll go back into the code. Okay, and now we're going to go over to Art, go to the grid, and it says pixels per unit 100. We're going to make that 1, and we're going to make that point no filter. And then we're going to click on apply. Then we drag and drop that into the scene. We now have a grid, so we can see where things are. So that was all I wanted to do there. So now that when we're walking, we can actually see that we're still part of the grid. If I remember where my keys are, and so that's all that there. So the issue is if we go to environment and we have our player stats manager, every time we hit the chest, it keeps opening the chest. So that's one of the things that we need to fix. The other thing is the player himself. If we go to dude, does he have? He does not have a rigid body on him, but the wall does. Okay, so the wall does, and then the treasure chest does as well. Okay, so I don't. I think so. Player, is he untagged? Well, we can fix that in just a sec. So what I want to have is on the player himself. Let's put it in this one here. So on the player himself, I want to have a rigid body 2D, and I also want to have a box collider 2D. So this is fixing the collisions here. Now, I want this to be kinematic, I think, is what I want. And then constraints, I want to freeze rotation on Z, body type, the type of rigid body. Okay. And then for the treasure chests, I want to remove the rigid body. So I want to remove rigid body 2D, because you only need one rigid body, and that should be on the dude. And then the wall there should also not have a rigid body. I think that should be okay. So now nothing should have changed. It should just all still work. So we can move the player there, and see, that's the problem I was getting into, was that it didn't find it. And I think that's why I had the rigid body on there in the first place. But let's just check. So let's see if this is trigger is off, and is trigger is off. Okay. So I think the problem is, so this was the suggestion, was to remove the rigid body from these. I think the issue is that I need to have it on because it's the code itself. Let's fire up the code. So let's just open one of these classes. I'll fast forward this bit as well. Okay, so in Locomotion, we have this thing here where it says raycast hit. Now the raycast returns, I think it returns a rigid body. I'm not entirely sure. There's nothing against that. Oh, here we go. Let's look up while that's happening, let's look up, let's go to scripting reference. Physics 2D. Physics 2D. Okay. And then if I do recast, recast all, recast. That's not what I'm looking for. I'll get rid of that. Close. Okay, Physics 2D raycast. All right. Okay, so raycast. Cast ray against the colors of the scene. Raycast conceptually like laser beam. Blah blah blah. Recast. Does it say something rigid? Oh, no. What happened there? Yeah, right, rigid body 2D. This is the problem. So RD 2D. So the issue is it's not finding that recast. And I think the reason why it's not finding the object is because it doesn't have a rigid body on it. But it does say against the colliders in the scene. It doesn't say that the collider has to have a rigid body on it. Or does it? Returns description. Rigid body. So we need to get this to work because I need to use raycast so that when we're firing range weapons, I know that we're in range of something. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the dude 1, 2, 3, 4 pixels along, or 4 units along. So I'm going to move them to there. So that when we move right, we should hit something. That's the idea. So our wall here is our box collider 2D, and that should be all that we needed. It is a collider. It should collide against that. It's impassable. Okay, let me just check. So let's make player player. I don't know why player isn't player. So player, we'll make him player, and we'll make dude player as well. Box collider 2D. I'm wondering stats gizmos. I'm wondering if it's because the box collider is on the child object and not on the parent object. So let's try that first of all. So remove component, and we'll do rigid body 2D, and we will then add a box collider 2D. And you'll see that it is, oh, because I moved him to 4. Whoops. I want to move him to 0, and then I want to move this to 4. Okay. I think this might, fingers crossed, but I'm hoping this just works. Oh, there we go. So let's make that kinematic, and we will freeze rotation on Z so that we've got the exact same matchup we had before. Okay, so when we move to the right, yeah, it's still doing it. Although I noticed that the gizmos are not on here, which is, oh no, there you go, there's the gizmos there. So, okay, well, guess we're hitting the breakpoint then. So let's attach that to Unity. And we will move to the right. Okay, so position and then direction should be 1 to the, which is the right. And then we hit, and it does hit something. Oh, it's hitting the player. Oh, okay. Well, that's kind of weird, the fact it's hitting the player. Huh. I don't understand why it's doing that. Okay. Let's do position plus direction. It doesn't like that. Maybe you need to do direction plus position. No, that didn't work either. Vector 2 direction, transform position. It's not like that. Can you not add direction? Can you not add those two there? I guess it doesn't really know. So what can we do? Do we have a vector 3 extension? Probably not. I mean, we could make that vector 3, but then I don't want to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cheat. I am going to go in here and create another folder and just call this general. And then I'm going to create another folder in here called math. And then I'm going to create a class in here called vector3 extensions. Extensions.cs. Okay. And this is going to be a public static class. And it is going to have public static vector3 add vector2, and it's going to be vector3, oops, this vector3 left, and then we'll make that right. And we need to add Unity engine. And then we say return new vector3 left.x plus right.x left.y plus right.y comma 0f, because we're not interested in the z. And then we can do dot add that. Okay, so now go back to here and I'm going to be recompile. This should solve that problem. Just do that. Yeah, so you're stuck there now. Maybe raycast is not a good thing to do. Although I can ignore the player though. Okay, let me do that. Okay, scratch that. We'll keep that method though. It's quite good, but we'll ignore it. And we can do layer mask. And I hate doing layer mask. I really hate doing layer mask. Okay. Layer mask dot name to layer, and then the layer name is going to be player. Var ignore player equals that. So what? I'm inverting everything. I'm only interested in things that aren't the player. So the player doesn't have a layer. The player does not have a layer. Actually, there you go. We don't need to do that. Ha ha ha. Oh, do we need to do that though? Well, okay, maybe we don't need to do that just now, but we probably shouldn't do what I was going to do there, which is ignore raycast, because maybe we do want to have raycasts. Actually, no. For our NPCs, we don't really have line of sight. We're just going to do like a simple converge. That's for the next video. But yeah, let's just do that. Let's do ignore raycasts. Yes, change children. Okay, so now the layer is on there, so we don't need to worry about that. So it should now just work. So if I move to the left, I shouldn't be impeded. Then when I move back to the right, I should stop there. Okay, okay, sorted. Right, so now we don't have rigid bodies all over the place, and so we still have that. All right, that's good. Whew. Okay, so we're 22 minutes in. That's not bad. We need to pick up the pace if we want to get this going though. Of the new stuff. Okay, so that's collisions sorted. And you can see the little collision box moves with the player. And so that's good. So the next thing we need to figure out is when you hit a brick wall, that's okay. But when you hit a treasure chest, so if we go to our environment, if we hit a treasure chest, it should not increment that. You should only open a treasure chest once. So how are we going to figure that one out? Well, we have a world and we have a treasure chest manager, and we have this handle the treasure drop. So that's when we open the treasure chest. But what we can do is we can okay, there's two things we could do. First thing we could do is we could tell it that that treasure chest is now no longer a treasure chest, but is a impassable object. We could do that. Or, and this is a bit cheaty, but what we'll do is we'll have a private list of treasure chests, and we'll call that opened. Okay, so we're going to have an opened list of treasure chests. And we'll say if opened contains message.treasurechest, oops, return. So we're going to early out of there, and then if we haven't opened this treasure chest, we'll add it to that list. So we'll say opened dot add messages dot treasure chest. Okay. So we have this internal list, so that if we try and open if we try and open the same treasure chest, then we won't succeed. That's my goal for that bit of code I just wrote there. So I'm going to walk over here, make sure that our environment is set up there. So we have a number of chests open, which is 0. And then we walk over here and then we tap again, and it opens up the first chest. And then we tap again, and it still does it. So that's good. Why does it do that? Well, let's find out. We're going so well today. This is going to be a great video. Okay, so we have our treasure chest there, and our open contains message treasure chest. Okay, so it is returning from there. Okay. I see what the problem is. So the problem is that we are also opening the treasure chest. This is a bit of an issue with our thing here. So our treasure chest is that. So that's all it does. And then our locomotion, where's our locomotion? Our locomotion posts that we opened a chest. Okay. So this is kind of what I was thinking about, because I don't want to handle, so inside this locomotion thing here. All right, bear with me in this one. So again, we're talking about systems, we're talking about management, we're talking about the whole reason why I wanted to do this. Actually, the whole reason why I wanted to do this is because I wanted to make a roguelike. Never made a roguelike before, but I want to do it in such a way that I can then use these systems in other roguelikes. I want to write a roguelike engine for this roguelike game, but I also want to make it so that I can enhance it later on. So that's the sort of goal of this series. Now, one of the things here though is I'm going to have to, for every single type, I'm now going to have to go into this bit of code and then change this, because I'm going to add, a rock type, or I'm going to add a, what do you call it? A little trap, like what do you call those things? You put your foot on something and you know what I mean? You trigger something, like a floor trigger, or something like that. And I'm going to have to handle that inside here. And I don't want to do that for every type. So what I really want to do is I want to handle that down here. I want to have that be handled down here. I'm not making that sense. Okay, I'm not making that so much sense. I want to abstract the hit out of here and then decide if I'm going to post a move or if I've hit something. And if I've hit something, I don't want to move. Okay. So I want to test the hit. If I hit something, I don't want to move the player. Actually, test the hit. The hit message should tell me if I can move the player or not. So really, I don't want any of this. Oh, I'm forgetting my keyboard shortcuts. I've been using. It also doesn't help the fact I've been using the Mac as well. Okay. So what I want to do then is I want to say I want to say var should move player equals hit. What are we going to call this? Movement manager. I don't want to call it movement manager, but it's got to be like environment manager or something, or like placed object manager or whatever it is. Let's just call it some kind of manager dot instance dot, and then we're going to say test movement, and then we're going to do transform dot position dot and then direction. Okay, and then we're going to say if should move the player. Okay, so all of this is now going to be replaced with just a couple of lines of code, and the reason why we're doing that is so that we're going to abstract where things get hit, because I don't want to have to keep rewriting this class every time we add some kind of hit test. And similarly, I want to abstract this away so that we don't post the same message twice, because you should only be opening a chest once. Okay, so for this one, it's not a good idea to have that to be in multiple places, but it kind of is. So yeah, we'll need to figure some kind of abstraction there. Anyway, that's more of a bug with the status manager now rather than anything else. Okay, so let's write this manager thing here. So we want to test the movement, and we also want to have this here. So that's an environment thing, so that's going to be part of the world. And then let's call it traversal manager. So we'll call it traversal, and then we'll add a new class called traversal manager, and we will have a public class of that, and it's going to be a mono behavior. And the mono behavior is going to be a singleton as well. Now, maybe we should think about writing a singleton pattern for this. Maybe that's a good idea, actually. Let's do that. So we'll go back to general here, and then we'll call this Unity. Let's call it utility. So we'll call this utility, and then inside utility we'll have a singleton behavior add. Okay. And public abstract class singleton behavior, mono behavior, behavior. Is it behavior or behavior? Behavior. And this is going to be of type T, so T component, where T component is going to be a mono behavior. So we want it to be, when we want T component to extend from mono behavior. It can't be anything else. It has to be mono behavior. And so we have our singleton pattern, region singleton pattern. And our singleton pattern is private static T component instance, public static T component instance, get. And then we do our singleton pattern, which is if instance equals null, which it will be to start with, then what we want to do is we want to do instance equals find object of type T component. If that is null, then we're going to create a game object of this particular type. So we're going to say our game name is going to be type of T component dot name, but that's going to be plus that, and then we're going to say var game object equals new game object, the name of the game object, instance equals add component T component, and then return instance. Okay, so it's just our singleton pattern that we had earlier on, and we're going to convert the other one to that as well. And that means that we don't have to write singleton patterns all the time. So now all we need to do is we need to do singleton behavior traversal manager. Okay, so now our traversal manager now has an instance property on it just by doing that. Okay, so if we go back to our locomotion, we can now do traversal manager dot instance, and you'll see that dot instance works because it's now the base class is our singleton behavior, but it doesn't have test movement because we haven't written that yet. So that's good. So now we have to have a public, actually we need to have on awake for this as well. So we need to void awake, gather all traversal types, which could be a bit of a pain. So maybe we want to have, maybe we don't want to do that in our sort of first blush of that. So maybe we want to have, let's just leave it as that just now. To do this is quite costly and will hurt performance on first hit. Let's rewrite this when we do the game manager class. So let's rewrite this when we do the game manager class. For now, we're just going to gather all the types that match a particular instance or a particular interface. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is we are going to tie an instance or a class with a particular, oh, go away, not now, with a particular type. So if we go to the world, where are we going here? I'm all fingers and thumbs today. So we're gonna match it with these, okay? So our test movement. No, we didn't. Not doing that first. Okay. So inside our where are we? Traversal. So we have our traversal manager down here. Let's bring this back up a wee second here. So we have our traversal manager there. We're also going to have a add class, and then this is going to be I traversal hit hit provider, hit test. Let's call it hit test. I traversal hit test. And we'll make that an interface. And we'll make that public. And get rid of that there. Okay. And that is going to have true. So that's going to decide if it's going to what it's going to do. So it's going to return true or false against that. And it's also going to handle that there as well. So it's not really a hit test, as more of a handler. Yeah, maybe that's a bad idea calling it a hit test because it's not really testing the hit. Let's call it handler. Okay, let's call it traversal handler. And that's going to have, that's going to return a Boolean hit. And then it needs, what does it need? Do we need anything in there? I don't know if we do need anything in there because all we need to do is match up and see if that hits there or not. Okay, so that's all we need, I think. And then inside traversal, we're going to add another folder here called handlers. And I'm going to create a impassable traversal handler, which is going to be a class. And again, we can get rid of that. Public. And then the only other one we have is a treasure class. So we're going to have a treasure chest traversal handler. And the same thing for that. So that's our handlers there. And then in our traversal manager, we're going to have to gather all the types. So we're going to do, the other thing it needs as well is string tag name, and that's going to be a property because we need to know what tag we are addressing. Okay. So gather all the traversal types. So that's going to be var. We're going to use a bit of reflection here, and I've not really covered reflection in any of my previous videos, and it's something I keep meaning to do, but reflection is really handy, and at some point in your C# development experience you will encounter reflection, so we might as well do it at 41 minutes into this video. I really are going slow today, sorry. So var types equals type of, actually it would be get types. So we're going to go and grab all the types inside this assembly. And the way we do it is we use reflection. And what reflection does is it looks at the class and it gathers the information at runtime of the fields, the methods, the properties, you name it, you can find out everything you want about the class. Like if you find out a class has got a private member field and you want to be able to access it, you can do that through reflection. So although through object-oriented programming you encapsulate everything, you can actually break encapsulation using reflection. So it can be super handy to do these things, but we're going to use it for less nefarious tasks than ripping apart code. All we want to do is we want to find out all the types that implement a particular interface. So I'm going to go through all of these types for each var type in types. If type dot get interface, and then we need to do type of traversal handler dot name is not equal to null. Process type. And internally we're going to have a private dictionary string traversal handler handlers equals new dictionary blah 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 blah. Okay, so process type. How are we going to process this type? Well, we're going to make this type. So these are just simple classes. Our treasure chest event handler, which is going to implement traversal handler. We'll implement that there. And then our impassable one is also going to implement traversal handler. And that's going to implement that there. And so what we're going to do is we're going to make this type. And so we're going to do var instance equals activator dot create instance. And then we pass in the type, which is going to be the type. And then that's going to be as traversal handler. And then we're going to say handlers instance dot, and then we have our tag name equals instance. And that's all we're going to do for our awake. So we're going to gather. So this is the beauty of reflection, is that you can go away and you can find out what interface, in this example here, what interface a particular type implements. And in this case, we're interested in our type handler, our traversal handler interface. So if it does contain that interface, we don't care about any other interface, we're just interested in, does it implement this one? Then we're going to create an instance of it. And because it's a basic class, there's no constructor in there. We're not doing anything fancy. We then cast it as our traversal handler, and then we add it to our dictionary. So super simple there. So inside our traversal manager, we also need a public bool, what do we call it in Locomotion? Test movement, vector 3 position, vector 2 direction. So there is our test movement there. Okay, and now this is the beauty of it. We can then take some of this code and make it a little bit easier to read. Because again, we're trying to make these classes as small as possible so they only do one thing. Okay. So our test movement here, we're going to say, we're going to grab this here. And we're going to say if hit dot equals null. I don't think it can be null actually. Yeah, raycast. I've got a funny feeling that might be a struct. Yeah, it is a struct. Equals raycast hit 2d dot empty. That's not an empty. Game object. So if it equals null, return. So test movement's a terrible idea. Let's do can move player. So let's do can move player. And then we can change that to can move player. So if you can move player, you should move the player. So we're going to do return true. So you can move the player if that's the case. Otherwise, we want to say, what do we got? We want to say var traversal handler actually no, we don't want that. We want I traversal handler equals null, and then we'll do handlers dot try get value, and then the key is going to be the hit dot collider dot tag comma out traversal handler. So if that's the case, we want to return if it was hit or not. So we're going to do return traversal handler dot hit now do I need to know any more information from there? To be honest, I think that's okay, because okay, what am I thinking? This allows us to override the traversal handler. So for example, if a door is open, like we can have a door hit. So the first time you use it with a key, you don't move it. But the second time you hit it with the second time you move into it, you move into the door. So I think this is okay with the hit there. And then otherwise we do return true. And we could probably tidy this up a bit as well, but we'll leave it just as is. Excuse me. Okay, and we can get rid of these. So cannot move player, traversal handler hit. Okay, and so yeah, we can get rid of all of these now. Well, we can't get rid of all of these because we actually need to have that there. So so for our impassable traversal object, our tag name is going to be return world tag impassable, and we can make this a little bit smaller. Oops. That there, and then we can do return hit, return false, player cannot pass. So the player can't pass if they hit that object. And then similarly for treasure chest, I'm just going to copy and paste that there. That's going to be treasure chest. The player can't pass the treasure chest either because it's an impassable object. But what I also want to do though is inside Locomotion, I don't want all of this inside here. So I am going to grab this here, and I'm going to put this inside the traversal manager, this one here. So this is where we need to put some things in here. So I actually want to I want to pass in the collider. So I don't want to pass in the hit, I just want to pass in the collider. So for this one here, if I go to cannot move player, I want to pass in hit.collider. And hit collider is our collider 2D. So maybe I just want it to be the game object dot game object. Let's pass in the game object instead. And then inside here, I'm going to pass in game object. make that Unity engine, and then we pass in that there, and that there, and then for our treasure chest handler, we pass in the game object, and then that becomes game object get component using Unity engine. Okay. All right. So now our locomotion has very, very few lines in it, and it now means that we can handle other things as well. So we don't need to handle, NPCs or anything like that. All of that is handled by just calling this one line. That's really effectively what we've got. So now, after all those changes, it should compile, and we should get the same functionality. Fingers crossed. So again, I can move there. If I move up to the wall, nothing happens. If I move up the treasure chest, nothing happens. Good stuff. Okay, what happened? Can move player. Let's have a look. Transform the player. Well, let's find out what happened here. Okay. All right. So transform position is 0, 0, 0. Direction is that. So that's not the right transform, is it? That is not the right transform. Why is it giving it that? That doesn't make any sense. So the transform is 400. That's what the transform is. But this is saying it's not 400. So let's transform position is 400. Okay. So if I move into here, because I've got transform.position, that's why. That should be position. That was an easy fix. Okay. Right, I don't know why I pressed F5 there. I should have just pressed play here. All right, it's compiling, still compiling, not compiling anymore. All right, so when I press play, come on. Okay. So cannot move player is false. That's good. So if I move over here and then down, so we get blocked off there, it's good. And we open up the treasure. Yep. And that works from all sides. Sweet. All right. Cool. So that's good. So effectively, we're back to zero. We haven't really changed anything, but we have made our locomotion is now super simple. We don't have any collision detection in here. All of that is handled because we have this traversal manager. And the traversal manager is the bit that does the sort of heavy lifting. And the heavy lifting that it does is it gathers all the hit things that we can touch, and then it decides what it's going to do with it. Now, the treasure chest one, this is going to be a bit tricky. So really, I have, well, okay, let's see what we've got in the list here. So fix collision detection, let's put a check against that. Abstract the hit system. I don't know if I did that or if I know what that means now. Fix for treasure chest multi-hit. Okay, so the fix for the treasure chest multi-hit. Really, I don't want to hit that on there if I've hit it twice. So maybe if I go to open chest, there's the treasure chest there. I think open treasure chest. Yeah, there is a private bool called closed. So maybe if I have a public bool closed get return closed, and then I change that to, actually I don't need that private then, do I? Private set, and then I can say closed equals false. So I can turn on and off the closed there. So now inside here, I can get this here. So I can say var treasure chest equals that. If treasure chest, oops. If it's closed, I want to do all of this. But I also want to return false if the player can't pass, because the player can't walk into the treasure chest. So I'm going to go grab the treasure chest. If it's closed, I'm going to open it, and otherwise I'm just going to mark it as being impassable. So let's go back to the environment here. Environment. Okay. And so we're taking steps here, then we hit the treasure chest, we hit it once. Oh, because it's, that's right. Let's reverse that. So that is open. Let's call it opened. Opened is true. Let's just reverse the logic in that one. So we'll see if it's opened. So if it's not opened, then we'll open it. Otherwise, we let it go. All right. So again, we'll keep our eye on the environment over here. Once it compiles, it's compiled. And press Control P. And run through it, and we'll hit the treasure chest once, and we see that it's opened once, and then it doesn't work any other time. Okay, so we've opened 2, 3 treasure chests now. All right, okay. So now all the logic for hitting a treasure chest is in this one class. That's it, just this class here. That is the only time we can hit a treasure chest is inside that class. So if there's a bug with hitting a treasure chest, it's in here. It's in 18 lines of code. It's not in 50,000 lines of code, because if we'd kept that inside the Locomotion manager, we would have had to trawl through and try and figure out what bit of the Locomotion manager of our 4,000 line file was the thing that hit. So this keeps everything compartmentalized, everything's separate. We don't need to wade through lines and lines of code. And look at that, the impassable traversal handler. So impassable objects, you can't move. That's it. If I set this to true, I can now make walls invisible. So I can now walk through them. And all I did there was just change one Boolean value. So I change it back, let it recompile. And now I can't walk through walls again. So you can have like a debug in there as well. You can make that like part of your system. So yeah. Okay, so that is that's that fix there. Okay. What else do we need to do? Abstract the hit system. I don't know what that means now. I don't know what that means. Abstract input. I know what that means. But let's think about how we want our baddies to look. So if I go down to here, where's our bad guy? Let's find a bad guy. Is that a skeleton? It looks like a skeleton. There's a knight. Oh, there's a zombie thing. Can I sprite editor? Where's the zombie? There's a zombie. So let's make him zombie. Okay, we'll click on apply. I'll do that. Okay. Oh no! I've killed everything. No. Oh no, that was bad. Wonder if I can get it back. No. Damn it. Oh, that was dumb. Okay, give us a sec. So that's dude. That didn't. Why did that? Why did that kill everything? Okay. Sprite renderer, dude. There's dude there. What? What did I do? Oh no. Ruh-roh. Do I just have to drag everything back in there? Is that what I need to do? Nope, that did not work. Is it because the floor's huge? Oh. Okay. Well, that's just weird. Let's make the floor minus 50. Okay, that was super weird. Okay, in that case, let's bring in zombie. Zombie. And so we've got our little zombie dude there. So I think I'm looking at we're going along in this video. Let's just have an attack on here. So I need to create a new tag here. So I'm going to call this impassable treasure chest, and then we'll call this. Let's just call it mob. Because we can have different enemy types. So this is just going to be a basic enemy type. We're not going to go crazy on this. So our basic enemy type, let's do add, what we call this, monsters. And we also have our traversal handler, but really the traversal handler can handle anything that we encounter. So anything that we encounter is zombies and whatever we want. So we don't need to have the sort of basic handlers in there. We could have them elsewhere. In fact, we could technically have treasure down here. That would make more sense rather than having all the handlers in there. It's up to you how you want to figure this out, or how you want to organize your scripts. This is where folders kind of make no sense, because then you end up going like, well, I could put it in here, or I could put it in here, or that kind of stuff. So, all right, so we have our stats there, player stats. We also have like a kind of general like place we can dump things, but really maybe we want to have a RPG folder. And our RPG folder is going to have basic things in here, like health component. I don't know how granular we want to go for this. Maybe we don't want to go that granular. Maybe we just want to have, let's call this mob. Okay, and class mob, and it is a mono behavior. If we can spell mono behavior. And the mob, he is going to have health associated with him. So public int health. So that is going to be his health, and the default health for anything is 1, because why not? Now, what do we need to do here? I don't want to paint myself into a corner doing this just now, but yeah, should be okay. Okay, I'm going to put the handlers in here just to keep them all together for no reason other than putting handlers in handlers. So I'm going to call this mob traversal handler. And our mob traversal handler is going to look eerily similar to every other traversal handler that we've done. All 2 of them. Traversal handler. Get rid of that. Have that there. Have that there. And we have that there. Okay. And then this is going to be mob. So we don't have a world tag for mob yet, but we can easily add that. Go to public static read only string mob equals mob. And that there. So instead of get component treasure chest, we're going to do get component mob. And we're going to say that's going to be mob. Okay. Now, when we attack the mob, we're just moving left or right or up or down. So that's the sort of general movement of a roguelike. In my mind, is that you move. You've only got like the cardinal directions: north, south, east, west. And so when you move, you that's your attack. It's kind of like Diablo 3, that kind of thing, where you're just clicking. I know there's like the hotkeys as well, but you're effectively just clicking to move and then clicking to attack. So that's the kind of roguelike I'm going for. So we're only interested in if you're moving in that direction and there's something blocking you, what's blocking you, and can you interact with it if you're being blocked by it. So with a wall, you can't interact with it. With a treasure chest, you can open it. With a mob, you can hit it. So you get the sort of basic damages there. The issue though is how do we handle superior weapons? Like if the player is carrying a +4 broadsword. Okay, so something like that. It's something we need to think about, but for now, we're not going to bother. It's just you get one hit and that's who you're done. So in this case, I'm just going to mob.health --. If mob.health equals 0, game object, it's going to be destroy game object dot destroy game object and that's it. That's the only thing that you can do with with a mob is you can hit it, and if you hit it, you destroy it. Pardon me. So I'm going to create another zombie as well. So I'm going to create zombie, and then I'm going to add mob to him, and I'm going to tag him as mob as well. So he's going to have a mob tag, and he's going to be a mob, and he has a health of 1. So I'm now going to create a new one, and I'm going to put him at Y4. So I'll put him up there, and his health will be 4. Okay. So every time you hit him, you get a 4. Okay. Or sorry, every time you hit him, you take 1 point off, and so he becomes, deader. He gets 1 point taken off his health, so he requires more hits. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, so now when I walk over to here, I'm blocked by him, so I attack him, and now he's dead. Now he should be dead, but he's not dead. And the reason why he's not dead is because I don't have a collision on them, so I need to add collision. Box Collider 2D. Okay, so now they both have box colliders on them. They're not triggers. They are tags, and they are the default layer, which I think is right. Yeah, that's okay. So now when I walk up here, so I can't get past him, so I attack him, and he's dead now, and now I can walk by him. And then this one over here, I now take 1, 2, 3, 4. Now he's dead, and now I can walk by him. Okay. And you can see that as well over here, we have our message queue, and we have our traversal manager. And those were created on the fly the first time we used them. So the first time we use message queue, I think, is that we boot the system, we register with message queue, so that appears there. And then when we go to our traversal manager, you can see that the first time we move, we take that first hit there. So we need to fix that when we do the game object. But yeah, so there's sort of basic melee combat, if you like. But yeah, that's okay there. So we've got static NPC for attacks. This is the bit that we need to do now, which is our sort of basic inventory system for melee and ranged weapons. Because what happens if you take, what happens if you have more, like a better sword, that kind of thing. So these are the things we need to concern ourselves with. Abstract the hit system, abstract input, abstract method. Okay, I think I'm going to leave the video at that point just now, and yeah, that's probably a good place to stop, and we'll do this for the fourth video. I'll move that down into the sort of to-do pile. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, thumbs up. If you didn't like the video, thumbs down. Please leave a comment below if you have any, if you find any bugs, or you're confused by something, or whatever reason, just leave a comment below. It's all good. But yeah, if you haven't been here before, think about subscribing. Share the video as well. That really helps the channel. And above all, you don't need to do anything. I'm just happy that you're here and you're watching the video, and hopefully you're getting some entertainment from it, or some, I'm doing something that you didn't think you could do, or whatever. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye bye.